Today we welcomed Christina Visentin, who is a friend of mine, but also a massage therapist who is, from my understanding, a professional when it comes to lymphatic drainage. But we really dove into what the lymph system is, which I don't think a lot of people know because I didn't even really know. And it's a huge trend. You hear like drains your lymphatic system, this, that, tools, whatever it is. But today we really dove into it and I thought it was really interesting. And she's just so knowledgeable and I think explained everything so well to those who really don't know. And I just thought it was such a lovely episode. And what did you think of it?
Well, I really loved the way she explained it because,
Yeah.
we hear about the lymphatic system, we hear about lymphatic drainage massages, we hear about these things because they're hot and they're kind of trending,
Yeah.
but they're actually very serious, and the lymphatic system has a massive detoxification role for the body. And jumping onto a trend without really understanding the purpose of why you're doing what you're doing and what the effects it's going to have on the body is really going in kind of like without any vision or understanding because it is quite medical. And, there's
Manipulating
yeah, you're
like
manipulating a
your
very
body.
important function. The lymphatic system has a role in the body, and you're manipulating it. And so there's things that you need to know about that. And obviously, the people who do these types of massages are very, very educated. They've taken courses and learned everything about it. I liked it because, or I should say, I really loved it because it kind of demystified a lot of the the lack of information that's out there around the lymphatic system and why we need to be doing lymphatic drainage massages, as well as the effects that it has on the body in a positive sense. It's very
Mm.
good for you to do it.
There's
Also,
also certain contraindications of like when you
yeah,
shouldn't be doing it
yeah,
specifically as a woman or even overall as a human, like when you shouldn't versus when you should, or
yeah,
when you can't versus when you can.
yeah,
So it's just overall like
yeah.
very, very cool episode.
It's very cool, and it kind of reinforces for us also our entire goal around wellness and just improving and taking charge of your health on all different levels. She was really very passionate and fun to chat with. So, welcome to the podcast, Christina.
So we're so excited to have you on the podcast today, Christina. This conversation is something that I've been waiting to talk about. It's a big trend right now, lymphatic drainage. But before we get started, just so our listeners have a little bit more of an understanding of where you come from and how you ended up in this industry, why don't you give them a little bit of a backstory about yourself?
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me. Hi, everyone. My name's Christina or Chrissy. Basically, I have a huge background in the beauty world. I did about 6 years in marketing. I have a marketing degree, worked another 4 years in just, consulting for different brands. And after my 10-year adventure in marketing, I really decided to go more on the wellness and health trend. So I normally get a lot of questions of like, why is that? And basically a lot to do with my own personal experiences. Working in the beauty industry, I really realized just having like different types of products, what's good for you, what's not good for you, but also more on a personal level. I went on my own journey. I did have a lot of health issues. My family, and specifically my parents, also went through a lot of health issues like cancers, etc. And I really just got invested into the well-being of our body, specifically hormonal, lymphatic, because so many women specifically struggle with these things day to day, including myself and including tons of people I love around me. So I decided to take the leap and started studying naturopathy and decided to go into massage therapy because I really believe in healing inside and out. So the out part obviously being the lymphatic massages and Swedish and cupping and so forth. So that's really how I kind of got here. And it's really by passion and through life experiences.
I love that.
I love that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that.
That's
That's
really
great.
cool.
I always love hearing people's stories on how they discover things. You grow up and you think that your life is set in this one particular direction, and all of a sudden, whoop, things happen, and it just makes
Yes.
you shift. And
Absolutely.
yeah, no, it's a beautiful industry to be in, and sounds like you came to it like quite naturally. Also having the background in different areas, but all it sounds like in beauty also,
Yeah,
and wellness. They kind of go hand in hand.
we do.
Yeah. So welcome.
Thanks.
What I wanted to know before we really get into lymphatic drainage massage, I wanted to understand what is the role of the lymphatic system in the
Absolutely.
body. I think before we get into it,
Absolutely.
let's get into that.
I could probably go days on talking about what our lymphatic system does. It really works hand in hand with our circulatory system. So basically what keeps us alive, like our heart, blood, just pumping throughout every single vessel, tissue in our body. But specifically the lymphatic system, its main job is to eliminate any sort of like foreign pathogens that could be, viruses, bacteria, even parasites. Its main job is to protect us at the end of the day. And so it happens in different ways. So for instance, when we get, an injury, let's say in a sport, we start swelling. Well, that's your lymphatic system coming in, pumping in nutrients, pumping in like leukocytes, white blood cells. It comes, here to protect you. Then we have inflammation. And inflammation is a part of the body trying to protect you sometimes. And so what's happening with the lymphatic system, it's trying to drain, anything that's not supposed to be in our bodies, especially that we live more in cities now. We don't have as much access to fresh foods. These are all things our body's like, hey, this is foreign. We don't know what to do with this. And so naturally, our body has a system in place to help eliminate that. So when we talk about lymphatic drainage, we use the word detoxing, drainage, but what it's really doing is working with our other organs. We're working with our kidneys, our liver, our skin, our lungs. We're really working together in order to eliminate what's not supposed to be in our body. Really cool.
Okay, so
That's
interesting. And I wanted to
Yeah.
ask you just my understanding is that if the lymphatic system functions, if you're stagnant, for example,
Hmm.
it sits, right? But it's only able to actually do its job properly when there's movement or something that is like a catalyst to make it move, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, something super interesting to kind of know is that the lymphatic system has no pump. There's no natural pump
Yeah,
in our
it's not like the
body.
blood, right? It's not like
No,
your heart's. Yeah,
exactly. The circulatory system, it's amazing because the heart is pushing, it's pushing the oxygenated blood. It's getting to our organs, it's getting to our tissues. We're inhaling oxygen. We're in like, we exhale our deoxygenated blood or CO2, but the lymphatic system needs to either manually be pushed, which is where we come in as professionals, or we have to do some sort of muscle contraction or breath work.
yeah.
So these are really the only ways our lymph is not going to be stagnant in our body. And this is not taught to us in school, which I think honestly blows my mind a little bit.
Absolutely, right?
Absolutely. And so we have to manually drain that. And that's why it's so important. And I'm happy that, I'll call it a trend of the lymphatic drainage, but I'm happy that it's here to stay.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
people need to know more about it. That's the thing. And that's why we like to have these conversations, is because there's these things that happen to us that nobody really talks about, that all of a sudden we go, oh, we wake up and go, oh my gosh, like we need to do
absolutely.
something about that. So if the body doesn't move or doesn't have like lymphatic drainage massage, if the lymph system doesn't move in the body, what actually happens to the body?
So it's it slowly progresses worse and worse. That's the best way I could explain it. So first you'll start feeling super tired. You might not be going to the washroom, whether it's bowel movements, urination. You'll start feeling super bloated. You'll start breaking out, even sometimes get more oily skin. You'll even have, honestly, sometimes like your moods can change. Your
Yeah,
your
swings.
you could be more agitated, more stressed, anxiety, depression, and it kind of builds. And then you'll start seeing physical symptoms with swelling, with even cellulites, water retention, these sort of things that's physical in the body. And so when it
Yeah.
gets to the point where the body's literally, because our skin's an organ and our if it's starting to show on your skin, it's because your body's literally quite begging you to take care of the lymphatic system.
Like it's toxic almost in a way, right?
It's trying to
There's like
eliminate. It's like,
toxicity.
absolutely. Your body's like, please help me get rid of this. And so that's kind of, and even like your organs are talking to you, right? A lot of my clients who come, it could be mid-session. They're like, hey, Christina, like I just need to go to the washroom real quick. And I'm like, absolutely. That's your lymphatic system being stimulated and says, I need to let it out through urination, through bowel movements, through sweating, through acne, through no matter like, etc. And so
Okay.
it's a really, your body communicates with you, and it's whether or not you want to listen to it at the end of the day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
facts. Facts,
I
facts.
think
Yeah.
in today's world, more and more people want to listen to their bodies. You know, our health is really
Amazing.
within our own, we have to take charge of it, right? We have to
Absolutely.
in today's world, the way our medical systems work and the way everything is right now in our
Yeah.
world, it's really up to us to do the things to take care of our health. Um, Before we get also into the, talking about more lymphatic massage, I was also wondering who is the ideal candidate versus not the ideal candidate? And is there anybody who really should not do this whatsoever?
Absolutely. So I think it's a great question. Thank you for asking that. You know, when we talk about massage, people think, oh, massage can't be harmful. You know, it's a massage at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But it's more than that, right? We're literally manipulating a system in our body. And so the ideal candidate, honestly, could be pretty much most healthy individuals. You know, anyone who doesn't have any specific like medical histories that I would need to know about. I
Like
think
cancers or,
yeah, so cancer could go two ways, which you can do a lymphatic treatment if you're in remission. It's
okay.
actually fantastic if you're in remission because a lot of the times cancer treatments, they cause a lot of inflammation in the body, a lot of water retention post treatment, even if it's radiation, radiation, chemos, anything like that. Even if you're taking a pill that's maybe not a chemo pill, but it's more targeted pill. A lot of these medications long term will have effects similar to birth control, right? They cause inflammation, have water retention, even though it's doing its main purpose. It's really hard on the organs, the kidneys, the livers, etc. So when you're in remission, it's fantastic to help kind of let your lymphatic system flow again and do what it has to do. I honestly, though, those who are currently in treatments for cancer, I would strongly advise against it. And
Yeah.
so there will be some practitioners who will say it helps the body fight cancer, etc. But scientifically, from just as this is solely my perspective and my opinion, a lot of these treatments that are being taken in the body are actually seen as foreign to our body. Even though it's fighting it and it's helping the cancers, ultimately what's happening though when you're lymphatically draining it is you're taking away the efficacy of the medication.
Oh, okay.
We don't want that.
No.
Right? Like that's not what we want because your body is signaling, hey, like this is not supposed to be in here. Like this is actually there's things in here that I don't like. It's causing my organs to work harder. Like maybe we should eliminate this. But at the same time, we don't want to really touch the treatment plan. And also, it could cause the cancer to spread and metastasize, which is
Okay.
something we don't want because our lymphatic system is filled with cells. It's filled with white blood cells, leukocytes, you know, T and B cells, different types of cells that are actively fighting our bodies. And we don't want that to spread
No, no, no,
naturally.
exactly.
It's quite the
So it's
opposite.
really a conversation. Obviously, if someone really has a lot of swelling and is in pain, that they could get kind of with their oncologist if they get the approval 100%. But from my own opinion, cancer can go two ways. It's either really beneficial when you're in remission, but if you're during treatment, I would say have your body fight off what it needs to fight off and then come and get rejuvenated.
What
So
about if
that's
you're
a
like,
great example.
sorry, I didn't mean to stop you there. I
No,
just
go
wanted to
ahead.
ask, like, what about if you have a cold or if you have like the tail end of a flu, or is it a good thing to do? Is it not a good thing to do?
Another amazing question. So when we start getting sick and we start having symptoms, that's when you want to blast your body, like your lymphatic system. Like you actually, if you're like, oh, I kind of have a sore throat, like something's off, I want you in my chair. I'm gonna
Okay. With a mask
literally
on.
eliminate. I'm gonna try to eliminate. If you're at the tail end of it and it's like, you still have like you're coughing and you're kind of like, it's been like this for 2 weeks, I'm exhausted. That means your lymphatic system is sluggish and we need to work on that. Now, if you're in fever mode, like you have the virus, it's active, do not come see me because I could actually make it worse.
Okay.
So what's
So the
happening
beginning or
is
the end?
the beginning or the end. There's no middle ground here at all. No gray zone. No gray zone. And that's happening because your body's working really, really hard to fight off this infection. What happens with the lymphatic system is we basically have like lymphatic vessels and we have lymphatic tissue. The lymphatic vessels are kind of like once it enters the lymphatic tissue, we have what's called we have certain cells that are responsible for kind of being the alarm of our immunity. So the dendritic cells are like, hey, we don't like this, so we're going to activate our immune system, and the lymph is going to transport all the white blood cells, T cells, B cells, to go and fight that off. So when we're feeling swollen, whether it's on our neck, underneath our armpits, when we're not feeling well in our groin,
Yeah.
that's actually your T and B cells multiplying to help fight that infection. So if I'm coming in here and trying to get rid of that, no, we need that
Yeah.
there
It's not
to help fight whatever we're
yeah,
fighting.
100%.
And
But we don't want to get worse.
we also spoke just before we started this episode. Actually, I asked you about like when's the right time to get a lymphatic drainage when you're through your cycle. Like, and I remember you telling me, because I've actually had one done by you and I loved it. And I remember you asking me like, where are you in your cycle? And you're like, okay, no problem. So like, can you explain a little bit when it's suggested to get a lymphatic drainage massage or when it's not?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think I'm a very big believer of the 4 cycles, like the woman menstrual cycle, right? We have 4 phases, and honestly, not a lot of people even know we have 4 phases in a
No, I
month,
know.
right? And
Drives
we've
me
never,
crazy.
again, been educated on that, including myself, until I really got into this field. I was like, how come I've never been taught this? Like, what
No,
is
we
happening?
just, there's so much about our bodies as women that is not like communicated properly when we're growing up.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's
And you're
unfortunate.
just there, especially like menopausal, etc. But to answer your question, I'm a very big believer of like your bleed phase. So when you're bleeding, you want to just rest that week. You don't really want to put your body through anything. Your body's just asking to rest. It needs to rest. But the PMS or luteal phase, which is the week prior, this is when you're going to have a lot of water retention. Your moods are going to shift. Um, you know, you just don't feel like yourself. And it's really detrimental for some women, especially if they have PMDD, et cetera, that it's a really hard week for them.
Yeah.
And that's when I highly recommend actually getting a lymphatic drainage, because not only are you going to feel lighter and better, your mental health could be affected. We're going to try rebalancing and eliminating anything that's like excess estrogen, excess anything that's not supposed to be there. We're going to eliminate that either through urination, bowel movement, et cetera. So also, we're going to help a lot of your intestinal. So, we obviously have a lot of water weight. We gain more weight. We're more hungry because of our progesterone, et cetera. But we have lymphatic vessels in our intestines that actually help with fat absorption in our bloodstream and vitamin absorption. So when we're manipulating, like the intestines, it's actually helping us kind of, I guess, absorb more what we need to absorb in a period of our cycle. That's hard for us to do so because it's inflamed and has a lot of water retention, et cetera.
Okay.
So realistically, the only week I'd probably avoid, but you still can, but would avoid, is your bleed week, because your bleed week, you need to relax. You need to have a tea. No one should stress you out, which I know is impossible in this day and age. But that's really
Yeah.
when I would recommend it.
I am loving Jan Marini's Luminate Eye Gel. I've been using it for months and it's my favorite product for tackling dark circles, puffiness, and crepiness. It's packed with retinol power, but gentle enough for everyone. And if you're dealing with milia, its gentle formula hydrates without being too rich. You apply it under eyes only and never on the lids. And remember, as with most retinols, there's an acclimation period. So start slowly, like 2 to 3 nights per week, and then gradually increase to every night. I promise you won't be disappointed. If you want to try this product, go to bskinenvy.ca. That's bskinenvie.ca and use code SKINTALKS to get 10% off your first order. You know, a lot of
Yeah.
women struggle going through premenopause and postmenopause, during menopause, hot
Absolutely.
flashes,
Hot
and like
flashes.
lot of things, right?
Well, yeah.
What are your thoughts on doing lymphatic drainage during that time of
I
your?
think I think it's life changing for a
Oh,
lot of
really?
women. Yeah, I think it's life changing for a lot of women. Unfortunately, there is nothing to like in the medical world really treat menopause. It's kind of like we have to go through it and
Yeah,
good luck, you know?
yeah,
And I think having these types of treatments can make a woman feel like themselves again. It could help balance like their hormones a little more. It could actually just relieve stress, and we're also working we're working the stress in your body, the anxiety in the body, just it could just an incredible massage for that
yeah.
specifically.
Just the act of self-care too, I think when you're going through that time of your life, speaking from experience, I think just the act of taking care of yourself and giving yourself that time
Absolutely.
is an indication of just, you know, self-care and self-love. Um,
Yes. I
takes
think
the edge off, right?
just to add to that, I think lymphatic drainages are something that needs to be part of a self-care routine versus a band-aid effect. That's something I
Yeah,
always tell
exactly.
my clients. You
Hmm.
know, they could feel swollen and be like, "Hey, can you come help me?" Of course, but if you're not upkeeping your massages, you know, the problem's just gonna stay. That's
Yeah,
the truth. It's in like we talked about earlier, we're the only ones who can pump it out with muscular breath work or physical manipulation. And I think it's really a long-term, goal
commitment.
versus
Yeah, you got
exactly
to commit to
commitment.
it. Yeah.
I think before we get into, because I do want to know like the frequency of if you have a goal, like how often you should go. But I do want to know, like, let's say for pregnant women, or like, can you do lymphatic while you're pregnant, or like breastfeeding? Like, I really don't even know.
Absolutely, that's a great question. Honestly, the first trimester of any pregnancy, we don't want to do any type of massage work on them. That's just it's a given because we don't want to manipulate any hormones. We don't want to manipulate anything of the lymph because now you have this child that is working, well, not working,
In
but
development.
it's in you, right? And
Yeah.
and so when we're draining with our lymphatic system, it's affecting the baby. We don't want to give the baby toxins.
Yeah,
Oh,
okay.
okay.
So that's actually something that would have to pass first trimester, would need to be discussed and approved by their GP.
Physician, yeah.
Okay.
That
Yeah.
makes sense.
Interesting. And I have one last question that I wanted to ask before, but you mentioned PMDD. Like, if you said especially if you have as a woman PMDD, what is that?
So PMDD is basically it's a very intense PMS. That's the like simplest way I could explain it. It's high levels of depression, high levels of anxiety, and it only happens realistically from your ovulation to like once you're done ovulating throughout your luteal phase until your bleed. So
Okay.
once you bleed, it's like basically all the what you were going through for sometimes as long as 10 days to 2 weeks, depending how long someone's luteal phase is and whether or not they are ovulating. It's detrimental to someone's mental health. It's basically your hormones are allowing you to feel a level of depression that, sometimes feels unbearable. It also contributes to panic attacks, anxieties, just bloating. Like you could literally gain up to like 15 pounds of water weight.
Yeah, that's
Um,
crazy.
it's a really, it's really harsh and on certain women who struggle with this.
Mm,
Okay.
And
never heard of
so,
that.
Yeah, me
yeah,
neither.
yeah, a lot of people, we just talk about PMS, that's a
Yeah,
classic.
just
It's
as a
like, oh,
trigger.
we're
Yeah,
PMSing. But
yeah.
PMDD is honestly, it's almost it's a pandemic. There's so many women I speak to that they're like the week before my period, they're like, it's not even like, oh, I'm a bit agitated. They're like, I'm literally not myself and I don't know what to do.
Okay,
Okay.
so
Crazy.
It's
interesting.
still a bit of a, I guess, stigma, I guess is the word, but it's so common, honestly, and just kind of regulating your nervous system and helping your hormones and doing things like and working the lymphatic system has shown great success for a lot of women who are struggling with this.
Oh, wow. That's so good to know. So good to know.
Yeah.
I have one last question before we get into like the
Yeah.
subject. What about men and their lymphatic system? Is there any difference between a man's lymphatic system and a woman's?
Listen, men need the same lymphatic treatment as women. I will die on my deathbed with this, okay? A lot of men are like, I don't need that. Like,
Yeah.
we work differently. Listen, if you have a lymphatic system, your body's holding onto toxins, okay? And I know that if you're playing a lot of sports, you've had sprained ankles, you know, you've had a million injuries. Your
Yeah.
lymphatic system is quite literally begging you to get a lymphatic drainage.
Okay, good. Good to know.
Absolutely. So even though women, we have more like, imbalancing of hormones, etc. Yes, it's more beneficial in that sense. But males, especially if they're them and their partner are trying to get pregnant, and you want to have a good sperm like mobility and good sperm quality, come and get a lymphatic drainage. We want to eliminate any sort of thing that is going to be toxic to your sperm, etc. So
Oh,
absolutely.
so
Yes.
yeah, very interesting. Very
I love the
interesting. I
conversation
think I
of
think
like
a lot of people listening to this are going to be like calling you to book appointments.
Oh my God, they're gonna be like, get my husband
I
in.
need to have the best sperm quality.
I like this conversation because like more and more there's women who are struggling to get pregnant, and a lot of the time it's like, oh, like, like it's
They
not
blame themselves,
like
maybe.
it's like, yeah, they blame themselves for it, but the
Absolutely.
man should be held just as responsible. Okay, if there's like certain things with the ovaries or certain stuff, like obviously, but I like the
Medically.
conversation of also being like, you should prepare as a man. I know like 2 months before it's
Absolutely.
like recommended for the man not to drink, like certain things
More
also to make
actually.
sure that the quality of the sperm is just as ready as the ovaries are or the eggs are to receive it, so I love
Absolutely.
that
And you
conversation.
know what? I love, this is why I kind of love social media too, because as much as there's sometimes misinformation about, certain things, there's a lot of amazing information that's being spread. And, the just to add, men's quality of life affects the symptoms of a woman's pregnancy. It affects, like you said, like even getting pregnant. If you think of it, we've been like eating a lot of processed foods. They're around us all the time. We live in cities. If we drink alcohol, smoke, anything really, that is going in our bodies, whether we're female or male.
Yeah.
And that needs to be detoxed. That's just the reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yes, like our bodies our composition's different and will be more beneficial in some weeks versus others, but men would benefit from lymphatic just as much.
I love it. Yeah.
I love that.
I
It's
think
very
yes.
good to
Also,
know.
it's also a nice form of self-care for them too. Like you're just as important. You should be
Mhm.
also getting good massages and cleaning out your body just as
I have a
much. Which
client
I
of
think is
mine
good.
who her husband, he never really understood like massages. He's like, I don't get them. They hurt. Like I don't really understand. And I was like, they don't need to hurt if you want it to be something relaxing, So now he comes more than his wife. Now he's
Amazing.
like he's like, I just want to
Hilarious.
relax, as they should,
Yeah.
as they
Yeah.
should.
Yeah,
So yeah.
absolutely. Yeah,
Totally.
that's so cool. Okay, so let's get into the questions about like the actual massage.
Yeah. Like,
So
what
we
does it
know,
entail?
pardon?
Like, what does a massage entail? Like, what can we expect
Yeah.
if we were to go and get one for the
Yeah.
first
Like
time?
what
Absolutely.
and what's happening to the body.
Yes. All right, let's get into it.
Cool.
So, lymphatic drainage massages, there's different techniques. People study different ways to do it. So, there's a tapping technique where the entire massage, you're literally tapping and stimulating the nervous system and lymphatic system. And you're probably like, sometimes you're lying down there and you're like, hey, like, what? They're not doing anything. Like, what are you doing? So, that's happening because right underneath our skin, we have lymphatic vessels that exist. And so what we're doing is we're like, hey, wake
Wake up.
up. I
Yeah.
need you. You know how a lot of like influencers who do gua sha, etc., they always tap here
Hmm.
because this our lymphatic system's working here.
In our
So we're
neck. Yeah.
draining, but where is it draining to? Right?
Yeah.
So that is one way. We also use bamboo, which again on social media has shown for it to hurt and leave marks. Absolutely not.
No.
It actually should not be practiced that way at all. Bamboo tools are a fantastic way to stimulate the lymphatic system and to drain. So that is another technique that we use. And then we literally manipulate manually with our hands through gentle strokes and movement in one directional pathways. And that's why it's really important to note one directional pathways.
And what is that direction? Is that up or down?
So
Towards
you're
the
always kind of going towards the heart,
Okay.
right? Because our circulatory system works with our lymphatic system.
Yeah.
So we need the help to pump it out, pump it to our organs, pump it everywhere. So we have like different lymphatic ducts that exist in the body. So when you come in for a lymphatic drainage massage, first things first, I'm going to ask you is what's your goal within our session today and within, X amount of weeks? What's the goal? People have different goals set. Some could be solely aesthetic. They want to work on their cellulite. They want to work on slimming and shaping. Some will be more like, let's say, medical in the sense where they have lipedema, which is a condition. It's a 4-stage condition where water retention in your lymphatic system is very sluggish, so it causes a lot of swelling in the legs and the knees. And so it could be, we want to give them quality of life. That could be, another example. It could be just to eliminate. So once we kind of have an idea of what the goal is, then we're going to proceed with the techniques that we feel is necessary. So you come in, we lie you down, we ask you, where the lymphatic ducts are situated. Some of them could be, just under the bum, in the groin, more in sensitive areas. So obviously we ask for their consent to pump. And then we kind of go and we effleurage to find the pockets of swelling or edema that feel a little harder than the rest of your body. That's how we could detect them.
You can feel
we feel it. Absolutely. We're trained to feel like where that is in your body, right? And so someone could be super active, have a great lifestyle, but that doesn't mean that they don't have little pockets of edema or swelling. And we want to work and prioritize those spots first. So what we'll do is we'll find them, we'll stimulate them, we'll tap them, we'll use different techniques, whether it's with our hands or our wooden tools, and then we're going to drain it to the point of drainage where we could then kind of pump it, and then we'll let it go, and we'll let the lymphatic system do its thing. At that point, the lymphatic system is either going to go to the kidneys, etc., to help drain it. So it's really like the lymphatic system is not the ones who are physically draining the actual toxins. It's helping get to the right organ to then drain it through urination, bowel movements, or, like I said, sweat, etc.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. So that's kind of like the process, and it's a very relaxing massage. It's great.
I fell asleep when I did mine with you. I guess some people maybe don't fall asleep, or I don't know. It's just easy for me to fall asleep. But like the bamboo going up and down, I was like out. I'm like, I gotta go to bed now. Like this is it was so nice for me.
I'm so happy.
But there's a lot of people that I've heard say, like you said before, people think that the massage is going to hurt. But from my experience of receiving the massage, it is really just very light. I was actually surprised how light it is. So it's a very, very soft kind of experience rather than where you go in for deep tissue massage that is more really.
And I'm so happy you said that, because I know it's a topic that maybe we want to discuss, but like, what's the difference of going to, but there's so many tools online now. Why not just do it yourself at home versus going and see a professional? And we're literally taught rhythmic pressure to not stop circulation, to not go over any blood vessels, and like literally that could increase blood pressure. And we don't want to bruise our clients. We don't want to literally stop blood circulation. So the rhythmic pressure of what we're doing things is we're literally taught based on different parts of the body, different goals, different, sort of things. And we need to make sure that that's respected on the body. When you're going for a deep tissue, etc., you bruise because, yes, there's an amazing outcome if you have, your fascia stuck to the bone, etc., right? Or you have really big knots and you're like, you need to get rid of them. But you bruise because your blood vessels are,
Yeah, but there's a reason for everything, right? So like, traditional massage is like a deep tissue. We're really working on the muscle, right? Like you said, the fascia, the muscle. Yeah. This is completely different, working on the lymphatic system. And like you said, it's right underneath the skin. So it's not
Absolutely.
deep, right? So
No.
that's why we, the tapping to wake it up, and then the movement towards the heart and sending, kind of pushing it towards the organs that are going to filter everything
Yeah.
out. Makes sense. So yeah,
I
very
want to
interesting.
know, let's say somebody comes in, like we can kind of talk about different scenarios, or like let's say the most popular scenarios, but let's say somebody comes in and they're like, oh, I can't go to the bathroom, or I have a hard time going to the bathroom, or like I have
Patient.
cellulite or this or that. Like, what is the treatment plan for that? Like, is it something you do every 6 months? Is it something you do every month? Like, how would you diagnose that and kind of give the treatment plan to
Yeah.
that person?
So something super important just to note is that like as whether it's like naturopathic practitioners, massage therapists, diagnosis is something that we can never do.
Right.
We can only kind of alleviate symptoms that our clients are having. So if someone comes in and is like, "Hey, like I can't go to the washroom. Um it's been X amount of days," you know, I'm always going to say, "Hey, like have you gotten a blood work done?" Like, or, have you got, a stool test done to see if there's anything sort of parasites, that sort of thing. But what we're going to do is a treatment plan that's going to focus a lot on their abdomen. And we're going to work the lymphatic a lot. And I would do it at least once a week for the first 3 weeks, you know, and obviously skipping, like I said, the bleed phase if it's a woman. But I would most definitely do it once a week for the first month and then see how the bowel movement's going. For cellulite, it's a little more frequent actually. It's about 2 times a week for at least 4 to 6 weeks. We could also use cupping with it, which is so it's kind of like a hybrid plan. So be it. But it really depends. Now, if it's someone who just wants to detox, feel good, or they want to debloat a little bit, we could go as once every 2, 3 weeks. The more frequent you come, for sure, the more of a result you're going to see.
Right.
Like I went from myself, I go about once every 2, 3 weeks, but I used to go once a week before I started giving them to everyone else, which I love. But ultimately, it really helped me because I have a lot of water retention due to my hormones. So I see it like when I do it every 3 weeks, I feel it. I'm puffy. I'm like, ooh, and I'm still doing the at-home things. I'm taking my supplements. I'm still super active, but I feel it. And I'm like, no, like I need to go get drained, right? So it's for sure the max amount I would say is 2 times a week. You should not you shouldn't do lymphatic drainage more than every 72 hours.
It's so funny because when we spoke to somebody recently about like lymphatic drainage, she said that she's Colombian, so when she was back home, she was doing it every day, and when she left, and she's like, she has her own brand, like she's very in it, but because she was just like, let me just do it every day, blah blah blah, it was like very inexpensive where she was. She said that when she left, she actually had swollen lymph nodes here because she had overdone it. And she was like, oh, like, why am I swollen here? She's super in tune with her body and her super in tune with her lymph system. And then she realized because her lymph nodes were overworked that they were like, it was too much drainage. So it like got clogged
Absolutely.
again. Or
Yeah.
Honestly, your body knows what it's doing. It's intelligent and it needs time to do things. But I feel everyone's to blame, including myself. We live in a go, go, go society.
yeah,
Like, I want something, I want it tomorrow or yesterday, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we're like, oh, like I have water retention. Like, I'll come 3 times a week. We're motivated. We're like, hey, like, which is great. But at the same time, we need to allow our body to do its thing and to drain, and that takes time. And I actually, through personal experience, I had an experience where I wanted to come more frequently, and so I started going twice a week, and that could be super beneficial to some people, but for me, I actually felt like heart palpitations. And I was like, like I was like, that's not normal. And so I was like discussing it with, my like my massage therapist, and she's like, for like, it's just your body signaling saying, hey, it's too much. Like you need to
interesting.
knock it down. So my maximum's once a week. I learned that.
So interesting because it's so subtle, but it's so powerful at the same time.
Yes.
Because the massage itself, if you haven't had one, for our listeners, if you haven't had one, it's a very different experience because we know massage as in Swedish massage or deep tissue massages or Islam. Like we know a lot about massages, but not necessarily this, right?
Right.
More new. But I did want to mention something. So when you're working on detoxifying the body through lymphatic drainage, massage, etc., it's also very important if you're really looking for the results, to obtain the results of, let's say, cellulite or even mood and all that kind of stuff. I think it's very important also to think about, how we nourish our bodies with the foods and what we drink.
Absolutely.
Because it's not a kind of just a solution that's going to
Yeah, it's not
fix
a quick
certain
fix.
things if you abandon good lifestyle choices.
Yeah.
It's very important, I think, to bring the good lifestyle choices into a healthy routine and complement with lymphatic drainage in order to get the best results. Like if you're eating at McDonald's every single day doing lymphatic drainage and you want to improve your cellulite, that's not ideal, for example.
No, even, with my clients who come, they get an email that tells them how to prep for lymphatic drainage. And that same prep work needs to be respected at least 72 hours after.
Yeah.
So I always tell people, like, do you have plans to go drinking tonight, have a cocktail? Because ideally, like, yes, like you can, but ideally you don't want to,
Yeah.
right? You don't want to dehydrate your body. So what's really cool about the lymphatic system is after you get lymphatically drained, and like I said, it takes a couple of days, your body's doing the work, right? And so let's say you drink coffee the next day or you have a glass of alcohol within that 72-hour mark, you're actually going to get more tipsy faster and you're going to have a hit of high caffeine, even high, like more quickly, sorry, is what I'm trying to say, than normal.
Yeah.
And that's how powerful this massage is. And so a healthy lifestyle is essential.
Yeah.
It's essential for hormone health, for everyday health, for heart health, for, you know, just it's essential for cholesterol, for diabetes,
Yeah.
just eating I always tell people it's not complicated. Just if it comes from the earth or an animal, eat it.
Yeah.
That's what I say. I say if, just have a well-balanced
Yeah.
lifestyle. Eat good,
Bring it
eat
to the
food,
basics almost, you have to bring it to basics and
basic. If
assemble it rather than buying it assembled.
100%.
You know?
And your body talks to you all the time. If you
Yeah.
eat something and you're bloated within 5 minutes, and your body doesn't like it.
Be intuitive with your
Yeah, it's
body.
like talking
I
to
think,
you.
It's
yeah,
like, hey, so sometimes we could be like, yeah, our lymph is slow 100%. Like if you're eating like whole foods and you're still bloating, that is a signal that your lymphatic system's, is sluggish right now.
mhm.
But at the same time, it could just be your body saying, hey, I don't like this.
Yeah,
And be like, oh, like it's a multi-grain cracker, but like, have you read the ingredient list? Because I'm guaranteed there's something in there
yeah.
that your body's rejecting.
So I have been using the SkinCeuticals PTX for a couple of weeks now, and I have to say I'm obsessed. This product is a needle-free anti-wrinkle peptide serum that visibly reduces 9 types of expression lines and reveals glass skin radiance. It's a great product to start using when you're not quite ready for injections, or like me, it's the perfect complementary product to use in conjunction with my Botox sessions to maximize wrinkle correction. I even have a couple of friends who have been using the product and have noticed change in their skin texture and any deep wrinkles they may have. You have to try it. Trust me on this. If you want to try the product, go to bskinenvy.ca. That's BSKINENVIE.ca and use code SkinTalks to get 10% off your next order.
Going back to what you said before about our culture around kind of dealing with something once you already have it, we see it in all aspects of life. With our clinic, for example, we'll have people coming in. They've never really taken care of their skin, for example, and they come in and they do Botox and fillers, and they're just like, just fix me, but they don't have the healthy habits at home, and they don't do
Absolutely.
facials, and they're not using sunscreen, and so it's really about understanding that we have ultimately a lot of control in our life about how we live our lives in the healthiest way, and all of these extra tools are to support, but not to replace the basics and the
Absolutely.
foundation.
It's
Uh,
our responsibility.
you know, exactly. We have to take responsibility for that. And I think sometimes people think it's very overwhelming, but in fact, it's digestible if you do it in small baby steps and move forward Is that something though that you discuss with your clients that come to see you about if they have a certain, swelling in certain areas of their body? Do you ask them about their diet? Do you go
I
through those
do.
sort of things?
Yeah, I
Okay,
ask them
great.
like how their sodium intake is, as an example.
Okay.
I ask them if they're hydrating, how much they're drinking. I ask them if they take electrolytes. I ask them what does a day look like food wise for you, like
Okay.
protein, etc. Something
Amazing.
to keep in mind though is like I am also in like I'm studying to become a naturopath. So there are certain supplements I like always recommend, or food lifestyles, but the same thing with massage, naturopathy, anything. I could give you 10 million supplements, but if you're not eating the right foods, it's a band-aid effect. It's not going to
Yeah.
have long-term effects. That's just the
No.
reality, right?
Yeah.
But going into effects, I want to know, like, if somebody comes in for their first treatment, what are some more like what's the word? Oh my God, I'm losing my thoughts here. But what's something that they can expect after a treatment? Like,
Like the
are they
results. How do they
tired? Do
feel
they see a
after?
difference immediately? Like, what is it within the next 72 hours if they're not obviously drinking, if they're listening to you to the T, what are the outcomes for them?
So this is what why I love the human body, because there's not really a cookie cutter approach.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Everyone has a little bit of different reactions, and they're all positive, obviously. But I think the main two things I hear is either if people feel extremely energized, like they could take on the world. So normally when people come in feeling fatigued, sluggish, and then we do a lymphatic drainage, they feel energy again and they're excited and their moods like better over the next course of like that week. So that's like one way. And someone else who struggles, who has maybe like really high stress in their life, doesn't really know how to regulate the nervous system,
Yeah.
they're going to feel super relaxed and sleep a bunch. So it really
That's why
depends. Yeah. It really depends, honestly. And sometimes that could change with the person based on what cycle they're in, what phase of their life they're in. We have, as everyone here I'm sure understands, life is ups and downs, right? Like
yeah.
it's never
Yeah.
smooth sailing. So it really depends. That's like people's reactions, but more common ones that are pretty neutral amongst everyone is urinating a lot more, especially if you're upkeeping with your water intake post like a treatment. It's going bowel movements, but I always tell people you're going to get bowel movements, but it's not like, oh my God, you're going to be in the middle of the day and you're rushing to a washroom. Like it's going to be
Normal.
normal, but you will have more bowel movements for sure.
Which is
Feeling
you
good
it.
because
know
that's an indication that like you're actually flushing out. Like if
yes.
you're urinating a lot, then it means that you're really getting out the toxins. Same with your bowel movements. So that's obviously a really good indication that the treatment is doing what it needs to do, and that you slowly should go
Absolutely.
back.
And I think if you're not kind of upkeeping with the hydration, you actually could get some effects like headaches, because now your body's working 3 times as hard to try to remove all these toxins, but you're not hydrating it. So it's like
Right.
dry, and it's like, okay, and so you could get headaches and things if you're not taking, the hydration and things like that a little more seriously.
Yeah.
Just saying, when I
I think
finished my
also you could
treatment,
get some brain fog too. When you're not properly hydrated, you can't,
and
your
you get
brain doesn't
sluggish throughout the
process.
day if you're
Yeah.
not drinking.
Yeah.
But it's
But
interesting that you
Absolutely.
say
when you
that.
did it, Tash, when you did it recently, you said that you fell asleep. We heard that, but you also told me when you went home you had a huge boost of energy.
Yeah, so when I finished my first treatment, like the drive home, also my treatment was at night, but my drive home, I felt really tired, like relaxed because I just had my massage, so I was very like low energy. When I got home, I
Yeah.
had a boost of energy and I was like, ooh, like I feel like light to the touch. Like I was like energized. I don't know, it was so weird. And then I can't even remember, but I'm pretty sure I slept pretty well after. And then I
I
felt
slept
lighter.
fantastic. That's the
My
one thing.
shoes were a little bit bigger on me because I had
Yeah.
lost quite some water weight,
Yes.
which I thought was interesting too. And I was like, wow, this is really cool. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I think also like just temperature is a huge thing too. Like when it's hot and our bodies swell more,
yeah,
a lot of things happen similar to like when you put on your running shoe. It
right.
got a little after your lymphatic, you're like, hold on, did I just go down a size in my shoe?
Yeah.
But that could even happen with like summertime, people like we're sweating, our bodies actively working more, and our bodies are like, oh, like, yay, like someone's helping us.
Yeah.
You
So
mentioned like to move the lymph system is like manual manipulation, but also movement. So I want to know, like, is it recommended to move after your lymphatic drainage massage, or is there a time where you should like maybe not do, like, if you, let's say you're a runner or you go to the gym, like what about
Or
that?
walking, just walking.
Yeah. I think definitely a minimum 48-hour rest period.
Okay.
That's essential for your body, because even though maybe physically you don't feel it, like in terms of feeling like your muscles hurting from a workout, your internal body feels it. Your lymphatic system feels it. And
Okay.
so just picture your lymphatic system as you doing a super great weight training session, and 2 days later you're still feeling a little sore, you're recovering. That's what your lymphatic system's feeling like. So I always tell people, like, if you're someone who goes to the gym the next day, try to either push it to at least what it's hitting the 72-hour mark, like you have 2 solid nights of recovery, and then you can go back to your day to day at the very minimum. So, like, try to avoid working out. Also just trying to, like, even your showers, like the night you get a massage, you want to not take a burning hot shower, because that could stimulate inflammation, right?
Yeah.
So just to kind of give your body a break from everything, really. Just drink a lot of good water, sleep it out. Your body's asking for that rest. It needs it, honestly, to have the best possible results. And like you said, like, sometimes day to day it's not possible. It's overwhelming for people to be like, okay, I need to do this, 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 this.
Mhm.
So keep it simple. Drink your water, eat good foods, and go to bed early.
Mm.
Like, let's
Great.
try to just do that, right?
What
Simplest
about
things, like,
if you did other things, like a lot of people like to combine different techniques for the metabolism, all the systems and everything. What about if the Wim Hof technique of cold plunging and stuff? Is that something that is recommended to also avoid any kind of things like, activities like that?
So I have a bit of a opposite opinion of some people. I think cold plunging, things like that, are really great for most people. I think that it's a little different when it comes to women because of our hormones.
yeah.
And I think anything that spikes our cortisol through the roof and makes our adrenal glands work harder may have opposite effects in the long run. Now, I'm not saying that's not beneficial. There's some people who live by it, and that's great that it works for their bodies. But when I'm very more pro the relaxing sort of breath work type, like, let's calm down the nervous system. That's more my approach. Not to say other approaches are wrong, but ultimately that's just what I advise. So you get a lymphatic drainage done, just rest.
Yeah, like, don't go jump in the lake.
Okay.
Like,
No.
you're gonna be, like, spiking your body.
But I
That's
don't
it,
like again, going back to the culture of, we want to have all the results right away. So we make a commitment to do something and then we go a million miles an hour and
yes.
don't understand that there's harmful effects that these types of things can have on the body
And
if we
things
overdo it, right?
and things shouldn't always be combined, right? Like, I love infrared saunas. Ice plunging works fantastic for some people. There's so many different things that we could be doing: lymphatic drainage massages, cupping. Like, we should not be doing this all at the same time.
No.
We should do things, more naturally. What works best for us might not be best for someone else, right? So I just feel that one thing at a time, and I think this is why people get overwhelmed as well. It's like, especially when January 1st hits, people have like 10 weekly goals, and I'm like, okay, no, like one goal.
Yeah.
And if you get to 2, yay, fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Baby
But, like,
steps.
because if you put too much on your plate, whether it's through lymphatic massages, through anything, you're not going to do it. That's what happens. You're going to get so overwhelmed, you're going to
Yeah,
become
you
avoidant.
just abandon it because it becomes like daunting. Oh my God, I have to do that again.
That's
Yeah.
it. It's supposed to be relaxing,
Enjoyable.
not a chore.
I really like the idea of habit stacking. You start with one thing, get
Yes.
into a routine. It can take you 2, 3, 4 weeks to build a routine out of it, and then building in something else that complements.
I love that.
If we hit it all at the same time, we abandon it more or less. I think a lot of people just they can't keep up with it because their lives are busy. They have kids or, jobs, and it just becomes too
Yeah.
overwhelming. So just take
And
things step by step and then
And
staff
same with
do things.
same with lymphatic, right? Like if I say, hey, you want to come once a week because that's what I think you need, but that stresses you out. Well, no, we're not do that.
That's not the intention, right? Definitely not the intention.
I want you to come and feel relaxed. I don't want you to come and be like, I have all these things to do. Why am I here? That's not what I want, right?
Yeah,
So it's the same thing with that as well.
Amazing. Well, this was so interesting. I could ask a million other questions. But I did want to ask you one thing. When you did the lymphatic drainage on me, obviously I wanted to experience, cupping and stuff, which is a completely different conversation. But you did put on these like
Boots.
pants almost on, and that, or what do you call that? That's like
Pressotherapy.
Pressotherapy. That's it. And
Yes.
that is just an extension of helping the lymphatic drainage. Yeah.
Exactly. It's different pressures that work to stimulate the lymphatic system and help drain.
Well, it feels really good. I have to
I
tell
love to end my sessions that way. I love to work the body manually and then end my sessions that way. Or I finish the abdomen, put on the abdomen machine, and then I go to the legs. It's not necessary. It's not like you need to get that done for it to work, to clarify. I just find it's a great last push. It's especially if you're coming, I'm seeing you in 2-3 weeks. I want to get it to its maximum point, right? And I want it to be as beneficial as possible. And I also tell people, if you don't have an hour or 90 minutes to spare, come see me for 30 or even 20 minutes. I could at least put you in the boots.
Yeah.
So the little story, if I have a second.
Yeah, for sure.
But I actually, I say fun fact, but it's not really fun. I was born with a deformed kidney on one of my sides. Okay. So I get tons of water retention in my leg on the left side of my body.
Okay.
And so for my whole life, I just dealt with it, and it was super uncomfortable. And, I didn't really know what a lymphatic system was. And then I met with my naturopath, and who honestly is a huge inspiration to where I am now as well. And she looks at me and she goes, I'm going to put you in pressotherapy. And I was like, what? What is that? Right? And it was life-changing. So I was like, when I start practicing massage therapy, I'm getting this, and I do it once a week. See, this is where I go by goals. I'd love to do it twice a week, but I do it once a week because because things happen. And my ankles haven't swelled in 6 months.
Okay.
Amazing.
So
because I've been actively doing it once a week.
Yeah.
For 6 months.
Yeah. Wonderful.
And it's a nice treatment because it's only 20-30 minutes. It's not something that's so daunting. So it's just you come in, you sit there, and it's very relaxing.
It's very relaxing.
It feels really good. Really good.
Yeah, I tell people, come in, just come in for 30 minutes. I could either massage your face. You don't want me to, if you just want to be by yourself, I'll put candles, some nice music, do your thing. You know what I mean? I'll put red light on you, and you could just be there for 30 minutes. It's a lot more. It's a great way to kind of include a lymphatic drainage in a very busy schedule.
Yeah.
With
all the benefits.
It's a good solution.
I love it.
I love that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we really appreciate your time, and you're very, very fun to chat with about this very hot topic right now of the lymphatic system and lymphatic drainage massage. I learned a lot.
I'm so happy.
Thank you very much for your time.
We would love to have you back when you become a naturopath. We would love to have you back on to learn more about that as well. So thank you so much for today.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed the episode, please take a moment to rate, review, and follow us on social at Skin Talks Pod. We'll see you next week.